I had previously talked about choice paralysis and how, while still in university, you have a lot less options than you do once you're out. You're really given quite a solid structure to your time in school. And along that same line, that structure also gives you many deadlines to essentially base your life on. Those deadlines serve as sort of like checkpoints in your university career. For example, come May of every year, I'm done my finals and I'm done another year of school. After my first year, I start my second year. After my second, my third, etc. If you take a year off, these deadlines make you feel a little behind compared to your peers. If you got a bunch of AP credits in high school and can skip a semester, you feel a little ahead. In a lot of ways, you can really track your progress and your life really because of these deadlines. University, when you think about it, also gives you these softer deadlines. Those I should have done this by this time type of deadlines. University itself, like those 4 to 5 years that you're there, does give you a timeline to make those kinds of deadlines for yourself. For example, by the end of my third year, I want to have tried this type of drug, or I want to have had this type of sexual experience before I graduate, or have volunteered in this lab, or have gotten this habit out of my system, or whatever you can think of. University has this pretty strict, pretty hard deadline for when university ends. And because of that, you can strive for certain things within that deadline, within that 4 to 5 year timeline. And also, as I talked about in the last video, you can compare yourself to others as you go about your timeline. When you're done university, you lose what, in my mind, is one of the last truly hard, truly tangible deadlines in our lives. Now, all of a sudden, there really isn't a concrete, I should have this accomplished by then, I should have this out of my system by then. There really isn't. So what do? We make these arbitrary deadlines and let them, in a way, control us. Here are some of my examples. I would freak out after I graduated because I had just turned 23 and I hadn't traveled enough for what I felt I should have at that age. I hadn't really been in love yet, and I felt like I should have been by that age. I still wanted to go out and party and get fucked up, but felt like I shouldn't be craving that anymore at my age. And these are the worst, I would start making arbitrary deadlines for my future self. If I don't have a solid, stable job a year from now, I'm fucking up. If I'm not married by this age, I'm fucking up. If my annual salary isn't at least this much before taxes, I'm fucking up. And then, okay, this is actually the worst. I would look at what other people are doing and make new arbitrary deadlines based off them and their lives. So one moment I'm happy with the amount of traveling I did when I studied abroad in Europe in my third year. But oh wait, so-and-so is my age and has traveled not just in Europe, but also in Asia. I'm fucking up. Right after university, I was in a relationship that didn't pan out how I wanted. Fuck. But wait, so-and-so has yet to be in a relationship at my age. I'm not fucking up. But wait again, so-and-so over there has been in 3, including a serious high school relationship. I'd never been in a high school relationship. Forget what I said before. I'm fucking up again. I would even make deadlines with people whom I had never met, like even people on TV. My all-time favorite Was definitely, this is funny looking back on it. My all-time favorite was definitely during Chris's season of The Bachelor. The farmer from Iowa, I think it was Iowa. Yeah, um, yeah. And I remember at the time I had already fallen in love for the first time and had experienced that, and then also experienced what it was like to not have those feelings reciprocated, and it sucked. And I remember, this sounds so bad. I remember feeling great that one of the contestants on the show, Becca, was older than me and had yet to have had a serious boyfriend. And I remember thinking, yep, those are things that by my age I should have experienced. And I have. Yes, I didn't miss that deadline. Completely off topic, I was pulling for Becca in that finale. I mean, I get why Chris picked Whitney, but yeah, I was pulling for Becca. Arbitrary deadlines are the worst because there's this aspect of randomness to them, and more often they're made from an emotional place rather than from a place of rationale. And on top of that, we have such a tendency to make them because life is scary and unpredictable, and we have this understandable fear of the unknown. And so by making expectations and deadlines, we feel better in our preparation and our approach for what's ahead. After university, yeah, I was terrified. The shock and the realization that it was all done really hit me, and yeah, I got scared. And I started making these plans and deadlines that weren't really grounded in a whole lot. Since they weren't grounded in a whole lot, I pretty much always came short of meeting them, or would recognize that I wouldn't meet them, so I would change them. And again, I would change them in an arbitrary fashion. And again, usually wouldn't meet them. And then cue in the disappointment, the negative thoughts, the self-blame, the self-criticism, and just all those negative consequences that come when you don't meet a deadline that you set for yourself. It's crazy to think just how much of my self-worth was contingent on these goals and deadlines that were made in such arbitrary manners. And these goals and deadlines were also so strongly linked to my fears and insecurities because, like I said before, we tend to make them to, in a way, help us cope with this fear of the unknown. I truly believe that these arbitrary deadlines that we make are so much a function of fear. It's funny because a lot of the time, having deadlines isn't actually the smartest move. Because again, how can you properly make a concrete and grounded deadline about stuff that you've yet to do, about the unknown? I mean, that's why it's called the unknown. We don't know what's coming. In this case, we really don't know what's coming after university. The thing with goal setting is that, on the one hand, goals are so important and so necessary in life. And on the other hand, goal setting is so hard because not only do many of us not know a lot about actual research done on goal setting, but goals are about potentially attaining future things. Again, they're about the unknown, yet they can be such a coping mechanism for the unknown. And so, whether arbitrarily or not, we set them. A neat way to look at goals is as a more desired scenario or behavior that you want to attain relative to your current scenario or behavior. And once that goal is set, the process now becomes filling in that gap and attempting to get to that more desired, more ideal spot. This gap right here, this gap between current and desired, straight up, I truly believe is like at the core of my mental health struggles, and could very well be for a lot of you guys out there. In the next video, I go into this gap, this relationship between what is known as the real self and the ideal self. And yeah, I truly believe that this relationship is so much at the core of how we go about experiencing life from a mental health standpoint.